To join the 100 Watts in a Wire community, visit 100wattsinawire.com.
Well, we're going to start it a different way. That's what we're going to do today, Steve. We're going to open it up. I don't even know what happened. Where'd the intro go?
I saw it, but we had the. Oh, well.
And that was something. That was sort of like the end. That's okay. I'm fine with that. Show's over, everybody. Go home. It's okay. And welcome to 100 Watts in a Wire. My name is Christian. This is the Saturday edition. I'm joined by Steve, Whiskey 7 United Delta India. Hello to everyone. Hello to you, Steve. How's it going?
It's going good. And hello to you and everyone. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, man. Hope we got the right clothes for the show. I mean, I just played it. I guess I'll play the opening. I'll find it. I'll figure it out.
We're a little back. You know, we are the dummy loads of 40 meters.
The dummy loads, the new spin-off show. We've got so addicted to these live streams. We've started a new one called the Dummy Loads. And this is a stream where we forget to start streaming and we just sit and talk to ourselves. We are the empty.
We're the dummy loads of amateur radio.
Dummy loads. I'm going to put a link to join us in the chat here soon. You can come in. We're going to be talking about special events and ham radio and things that that we enjoy, the importance of them, what you can learn from them, their significance, and all that sort of thing here. But I also have a form. If you have a question that you'd like to ask, by all means, use this form. It'll send it to me. I'll have it here, and we'll try to get through questions a little bit later and as we go. Good morning to everyone. And now we've got the team in line. I'm going to go ahead and open up the back door just a little bit because it's kind of cold. It's a little cold today. But if you're near a radio and you want to come visit, you can even watch the show from the green room today. We're going to open it up. But remember, our conversation today will talk about special events, those things that you like about them, your favorite ones, all that sort of stuff. So I just left a key under the mat. Just shut the door because it's kind of cold. We went up
outside.
We went up to Siri lied, I think. She said we were about 36 today, so the snow is melting. But yesterday morning it was 23, and all the snow that we got the day before was ice. So, it's just one of those things. We're kind of swinging between those temperatures. What are you looking at Steve?
We're in the upper 20s right now. So we're gonna get some rain this afternoon. So all our snow is going to turn into slush. And so we're forecast rain for the next 3 days.
It's a little soupy. It's a winter field day. Best to our brothers and sisters who are going to participate in this, what I would consider, it's not, I don't know if sanction's the right word or endorsed by the league per se, but it doesn't need to be. We talked about this a few weeks ago on the show, Winter Field Day. And it's a great thing. It's thriving and doing well. And people all around the world are doing Winter Field Day today. Very soupy today. I've got our shows here in the morning. I've got my girls here when Mama goes to work. So we'll see. But it's unlikely. I may be working from here in the shack today just because of the conditions are pretty soupy. And I don't want to have my girls out in the mud. If it was just a layer of snow or something, they'd play around in and we'd do it. We'll just see. We'll see what they want to do. They may pull me out, and in which case I may just set up the antenna. They're the bosses of me, pretty much. And another thing I think we should talk about is that the spirit, really, of like Winter Field Day and Field Day. You know what I mean? You get a lot of powerful stations sometimes during field days, and it's probably a good idea just to remember. I don't know if you do this at all, but I kind of tack on a scenario, it's kind of like an emergency situation. So people hearing me say, oh, it's too muddy to play, is like, well, put on a helmet, boy, this is meant to be. But, we have the luxury of not going out and playing in the mud if that's going to be today's situation. But the core of these, the field day, really is sort of exercising your gear and participating in some sort of betterment,
setup,
portable, learn something. I learn something every day. So you got really high powered stations that are out there doing things on field day and Winter Field Day. And then you're out there with your peanut whistle or 10 watts or 100 watts even. And it gets a little hard to compete I guess what I'm trying to say is it's become a contest too. But I kind of like to gravitate toward the real intent, which is set it up. But the thing is, the other side of that, Steve, is you set up and then you're done.
Uh-huh. Make a few contacts.
And you're like, okay, well, now what am I going to do? So adding that making contacts part of it is good. And I totally get it. But I need to apply some sort of scenario to my situation. You can talk about Winterfield Day. What do you think about it, Steve, and what I just said?
Oh, I think it's great. I mean, it's just set up a temporary antenna. Even if you're operating inside, just see what it does. And you got the setup and going through all those mechanics of getting something set up and what you think will work, and then applying it. And looking at, all right, this is, how the contacts that I made. And then, you got the guys that are running, full power, and it's like, really, but, are they participating in it? If they are, it's kind of like, really, why don't you just go back to, say, exciter power and just turn off the amp, give it a break for a while. And that's what I like to do. I just keep the amp off and bypass it and just go ahead and operate on exciter power and see what we can do, and just and that's what I'll do. I just won't even turn the amp on.
A lot of we have two special events that we do. They're not really special events. They're more activities, operating events, really specifically operating. And it's the spring tune-up, which kind of gets you ready for field day.
Field day, yeah.
Because I found that on field day, I could barely hold a frequency. And because there were so many strong stations, and here I was with a compromised antenna. I'm getting 85 watts out tops because of this antenna. On a good day, maybe I'm 100 watts. I couldn't, really compete. I certainly couldn't hold. And they're there early. They're 15 minutes early taking calls, and they're powerhouses. So I wanted to create a scenario where you could be outside of that field day, which I love field day, and I think it's the biggest, most popular day as a special event as they go. But it's harder for the little guy to do anything more than pounce, set up and kind of.
Well, back in my college days when we had a radio club at the college that I went to, and but there was no school during field day, so we did our own, and we went up to a place called Mount Gleason in the Angeles National Forest down there in Southern California. It was an old Nike site. And so we just go up there on a weekend and set up and throw up some antennas and just operate like a field day. It took a little bit. People kind of like, what? You doing field day? It's not field day. And it's like, well, we're a college club, and this is the only time we could do it as a kind of a sanctioned event as the club. And we did it year after year, and it was a lot of fun. We enjoyed it, and so the spring tune-up reminds me of my days back in college with the college club. We go up there and set up a 160-meter dipole and throw some. We took some fluorescent tubes, and at the end of the wires, we just kind of taped them up to the wire, and we would use it to tune up with. And with the brightness of the fluorescent tubes. And I think one year we painted one of them green, the other one red. So it was, it goes back. And we had a lot of positive feedback when we were doing that. So,
we have Edwin. Edwin was around in the pre-show. He was just saying it's 6 degrees Celsius in Amsterdam. And they kick off in about 3 hours. Yeah. If you're working Winterfield Day, let us know in the chat. Let us know where you're working, what you intend to do in your working conditions. Like I said, mine will depend on my girls, what the girls want to do today. And, you can't build a snowman in the mud. So we'll see. We had a pretty good melt. We'll see. I like to do it. If I get out to the old shed, But let's see. We've got some friends stopping by. We've got 2 stories coming up in about 10 minutes. Well, let's you and I start talking a little bit about some of our favorite special events. And I've got some, and there's a huge one coming up. And tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, we'll be talking to John Amadeo about it. AA6JA will stop by on the Sunday edition of 100 Watts in a Wire to talk about what's coming up in March. Now let's talk about the ones that are on the books. For me, I like 13 Colonies. There's something about 13 Colonies and the build up to the 4th of July and working that, and a little bit of a history buff, understanding about the first colonies here in America and all that sort of stuff. And my favorite time, I've talked about this on the show before, but I was visiting my mother in Delaware. She lives in a town called Lewes, Lewes. It was the first town, like in the first city in the first state. You know, I mean, you're talking about things that were built for people who were, you know, tall, like, you know, children. Great brickwork. It's an interesting area, but to sit there on her back porch and make calls up, you know, trying to get into other places, Massachusetts and you know, hitting Virginia. I couldn't get Maryland. I was too close for Maryland. There was a ham 2 doors down from her. He's got a tower, and I needed Delaware. I'm not going to be able to work Delaware. I'm in it. You know, it was tough, but getting up to those stations up those coasts, being there on the East Coast during that event, it had a special feeling. You know, it came with a different feeling. What are your do you have a favorite?
I'm thinking about it, and I really don't. I enjoy working as many as I can. It's 13 Colonies is definitely one. It's one that I like to work, and it's been I've done, you know, some years 10 stations. I haven't done a clean sweep on it yet, because there's always one or two that it's like, wow, I just can never catch up to them. And there's Route 66 is another good one that I've always enjoyed. The one that really stands out is the World War I Memorial, and I think they're out of St. Louis, and it's I hear them and I'll work them. The Indianapolis Raceway has three special events a year, and usually work them. And all these special events, these people put in a lot of time and effort beforehand, organizing, getting QSL cards put together, and I just like working them because, and it's not that hard. You just sit there and look for them, and they make postings on it. They usually QST will have a listing of what special events are coming up. And so if you are a league member, you can get there. But there's always information out there, and their QRZ pages will have it. Most of special events, I just come across spinning the dial, and it's like, oh, look at that. And just work them, just to give them a contact, because that's what they're doing. They're just looking for contacts, and they're eager to make a contact. It's going to be short, sweet, nothing, really long. If you're if you don't know what their special event is, they're really accommodating, explaining it and things like that. So it's just work them, just work these special events, because people put in a lot of effort and time into it. And I've been on the other side of it, and it's a lot of fun. It's the work, that the preparation, but then the week of the event or the day of the event, it's just a blast. And so just working people. So it's so go out and work the special events.
You know which one I just remembered is the 9/11, the one they're in New York, the 9/11 one. I think I work the same guy every year. And I think his name is Andy. For some reason, it's sticking out that his name may be Andy or Andrew or something. And, that's the one that kind of puts something in like context. Everybody has that. And of a certain age, you have these markers. You remember where you were during, say, Kennedy's assassination or the space shuttle explosion or 9/11. These kind of snap you back into these time periods, and that's the one for me. And I seek it out, it just feels like I should do it. You know what I mean? It's one of those ones where I need to work this guy, and he's out there doing it. And for me, the special events are giving you a little bit of background too. That's what I like. And I took a little heat for it first, because I did a show when we were just doing the audio stuff. And I would say, when you're doing a special event, it wouldn't be a bad idea to mention actually where you are and what you're doing. Or it was the same for the parks, national parks. I had this ideal that you were overlooking this hillside or you were at this battle site. Can you tell us a little bit about it? And then what happened was it became a pile up and you couldn't speak about it. You know what I
Right.
mean? But
And that's where the QRZ page comes into play. And you can go into a little more detail. And usually I try to look up what the special event is and get an idea for it. Another one that I just remembered from last summer was the KDKA, the 100-year anniversary of that broadcast station.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking, well, there's a lot of clubs throughout the nation that are, 100 years old and they have special events. So, and they only come around, once every 100 years. So just go work them.
Yeah. I think it's cool that they give a little bit. And some of them are maybe a little, the pileups become intense. You can't really take a pause. I remember doing that for the Arch. I was under the shadow of the Arch and I explained the Arch, just a little bit of what it was, this gateway, and the people will wait. But I understand the operator needs to kind of keep it going, and I understand. Somebody Paul mentioned the lighthouses, and I think that's cool.
Yeah, the lighthouses. There's so many of them. I just have to I should have come up with a list and have it with me, but that list would be long, and then I might miss somebody. But the way I look at it is, if you hear a special event, work them. Just work them. You can always find out what they're all about later, or you can ask or listen, and they'll tell you about it. But usually most of the special event stations will have something on their QRZ page, and will kind of, get you going in that direction. And sometimes it's like, wow, this is a special event of this battle during the Civil War era. Maybe, let me do a little more digging.
I'll look it up. And then you just kind of find out some more information. And then the clubs that are, 100 years old and we're going to see more and more of that. And so it's all learning thing too. I guess it depends on the op, and it depends on, who's running the special event and who's the net control at that time or whatever. But, you mentioned Route 66, which is another one that becomes addictive to me, at least. It's like, I need this one. And I'm not thinking, if I slow down, I may put together Route 66. I may try to put it together. And I think the longer you're in the ham radio hobby, you may do things like that, where you're connecting dots along Route 66. I'm guilty of jumping in just to, I need this guy for my clean sweep. And I don't think about the road and the significance of the road. So everybody's different, but I don't know, maybe I'm just getting older and I tie these historical points together. I want to know about the batfish and why it's so significant. Why was that significant? And the ships. I think you mentioned the ships. Either here in
you have battleships, you have aircraft carriers, you have submarines, you have. I think there's the PT boat down in Mississippi or New Orleans area. They come on the air, and you work these stations, and they have special events during some significance. The December 7th, you have the Pearl Harbor special event, and so there's a lot out there, and remember, these people are putting effort into it. There's a lot of behind the scenes work that is done, and as a community, let's give them the contacts, because that's what keeps them going, and they'll be back year after year after year.
And let's not forget the 12 days of Christmas. That's another build up. That's another one where you build them up and you feel like we're getting closer and we're closer. And there's an energy about that event. So that's
the big special event every year, the big one, the big kahuna, the Santa Net.
The Santa Net. Yeah. I mean, that's the one for the kids. That's you can see them light up. You hear them. It's just excellent. Isn't this hobby great?
This is
We're going to pause here. I'm going to do a little bit of news. Steve's coming to the chat to hang out with you. We'll be back with Karen and Paul right after this. ICOM's newest handheld amateur radio is the ID52A. It's a larger radio, a larger color display, and louder audio. This VHF UHF digital transceiver is much more than a replacement for the ID51A, but it's a new way of communicating. The color display is 2.3 inches for exceptional viewability, and the audio is 80% louder. This multifunction dual-band D-Star transceiver supports DR mode for easy access to local repeaters based on internal GPS information, as well as terminal and access point modes. The ID52A also has Bluetooth for audio and data control, providing improved mobility and control. Visit ICOMAmerica.com for more information. And Bioenno Power, offering the best performance lithium iron phosphate batteries for your ham radios. Visit bioennopower.com. That's BIOENNOPOWER.com. Or contact dealers nationwide. All righty, friends. Here we are. And look, I'm joined by... I didn't even put our picture up today. What's wrong with me? I'm just a dang mess. Look at this.
There we go. Now it's official.
Now it's official. You guys know.
That's our third partner in the whole segment. This is the most important thing. The newsmaker, the typewriter.
The typewriter. We're going way back. And this is the time where we take and pause and bring you two stories and we expand on them a little bit. And I'm joined today by my colleagues at Amateur Radio Newsline, Karen, KD2GUT, and Paul, W9GCO. Hello, friends, and I want to give you an opportunity to pick your special event. Paul, are you racing today? Are you? What's happening with you?
This weekend is the 24 Hours of Daytona, the first big sports car race of the season, and I'm wearing this in honor of 1988, the Tom Walkinshaw Jaguar team, which moved into Valparaiso, Indiana, about 3 blocks from my house, showed up out of the blue with 3 cars and won their first. It blew everybody's mind. And I was friends with the number of the guys on the team. And when they closed the operations, they had a big open house and they got rid of a lot of stuff. And this is one of the crew shirts. And this hat belonged to one of the drivers. And so I've got a variety of things from the team just as memories. But this is like oil or some sort of fluid from a car. When they cleaned these, they just couldn't get it out. So that shows that this one's legit.
Is that what we're going with? It's oil from a car.
It's not like I spilled tea on my shirt. This had been dry cleaned twice, and that's oil or transmission fluid or something.
Christian, and he's sticking to it. Speaking of things sticking to things, yes.
Karen, your special event of choice.
Okay, although I am partial to 12 Days of Christmas and the little-known Christmas birthday special event, I'm drinking today from this Last Man Standing mug because it's coming up, and that will be my favorite for this year, the special event for the farewell for Last Man Standing. Looking forward to tomorrow night and hearing what John has to say.
It should be great. It should be big. It may go down as one of the biggest collaborative efforts to get as many hams as possible, celebrating a show that really presented ham radio in a good light and an accurate light.
It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing.
We've got 2 stories to talk about this week. Mm-hmm. Karen, first of all, who's behind you? Should I be asking this or should we? Okay.
Yes, this is a very special man, and he came to my attention courtesy of 2 folks in Sweden, Max Gunnarsson, SM7BUA, who got in touch with Hans Larsson of Swedish National TV. And I want to thank Swedish National TV. This is a screen grab from a report that they did about him. This man is Tage Carlson. If he looks like a young man in spirit, it's because even though he's 101 years old, he is the oldest active amateur radio operator in Sweden. Wow. The reason we are focusing on him this week is because he's doing, and what he's been doing, we are just learning to do now. He is living alone in a cottage in a forest in Sweden. He's been socially isolated even before the pandemic, and he's making a go of it with ham radio, as he always has. So we're taking a look at him. He's inspirational. The footage that Swedish national TV had of him shows him he's active on nets. He's just probably more active than many of us. And at 101, unstoppable, really. He's a model of what we can all hope to grow into when we get to be much older. So he is the final story in this week's newscast. And we celebrate Tage Carlson, and we thank Swedish National TV for bringing him to our attention.
Very well. Excellent. Where do we start this week? Oh, go ahead, Paul.
Well, and I wanted these guys, if you get a chance to talk to them, they're fascinating because people have heard of Cliff Cahart, who just died a few months back, just short of his 109th birthday. I interviewed him for Newsline when he was a spry 104, and he was still active on the radio every day, almost right up until his death. I mean, he got permission from the retirement home where he was that they let some friends of his come in and they set up a station. And if you get a chance to talk to these guys, especially the ones like Cliff at the time had been a ham for 70 some years. These guys have been through a lot. I mean, I've interviewed 3 so far that were hams when World War II broke out. And I got all kinds of stories about that were tangential to what I was originally interviewing them for. So, man, if you get a chance to talk to any of these guys who are way up there, it's worth your while because it's fascinating and they've lived quite a life.
And we called an audible on our stories. I guess we better dig into what we've come for. Karen, what are we looking at this week?
Well, we're looking at Tage, but the other thing that I think people have been waiting, it feels probably like 101 years of waiting for a very special DXpedition, and that is Paul will tell us about Bouvet Island. They are quote unquote on track. So, Paul, why don't you fill us in on that?
Yeah, and there's been 2 different attempts. There was the official one, the big one that got called because of the weather got him and the ship got damaged because of the rough seas and everything, so they had to cancel.
They could see the island, they just couldn't even. It's like they were that close,
so close. And then there's the other group, the 3Y0I group, who they're called the Rebel DX group. And they were launching their own attack on Bouvet, and they also got called off. And they're, according to the last release from them, they're planning to do it. Now, they lost a lot of money, like the other one did. When, all this money, it's not cheap to put one of these big ones on. I mean, this group lost, and most of it came from personal funding, like $200,000. So they're working on fundraising and they want to stay independent. They're not looking at the big foundations or the big clubs. So there's a GoFundMe to help raise money to get them back. And they're planning to go back this year unless, of course, COVID travel restrictions prevent that from happening, in which case they said, fine, then we'll just do it next year. So they're determined they're going to get to Bouvet and they're going to put a station on the air. And that's awesome because that'll be another really rare DX that I'll keep working that will never hear me.
Karen, what do you think about this effort and that $200,000? Can you imagine taking on that burden? They got within, I don't know how many yards, but you could see the island and the water was just so rough they couldn't make it over.
Yeah, I think it is both physically and financially courageous to do something like that. It's gutsy. It's also very much active generosity and give back to the ham radio community for those of us who want to work DX. I remember on my little 100 watts working Pitcairn and getting so excited and then second guessing myself. Did I really work it? Did I really work? I had to work it a second time to prove that it was in my log. So I think they understand the excitement we have when we make that contact. Anybody who wants to warm up and get get ready if, in fact, Bouvet happens. My understanding is the leader of the team, Dom, is already on the air sporadically from South Africa.
Yeah,
So-
the team is in South Africa right now, which is where their equipment was staged from last time. So they're kind of going through things and seeing how they're doing. And as a little side note, knowing the kind of expenses that are involved in this, when you do work one of them and they ask for $5 for return postage and all the handling on a QSL card, don't complain. You got a really rare DX contest. These guys spent $250,000 to make that happen for you. If they ask for $5 for a QSL card, just do it.
Send
the
10.
risking there. Yeah,
Send 10,
10.
send 15, send more. Double it,
exactly.
triple it. Mhm.
Well, all the planning it takes to go in there, for one, the time that takes to plan the logistics in different countries and getting a boat. I think a lot of the costs went to getting the actual ship to get them where they were going, which actually failed. So I can't imagine. And I think it was a hard decision for them to have to pull back and say, we can't do it. They tried and they waited and waited, but it was really rough.
My understanding was, and this had to be a heartbreak, my understanding was it was the captain who made the call in the interest of safety. That's got to be a lot on his shoulders, knowing what's riding with that team. And the captain is saying, no, as a responsible captain of this vessel, we cannot do this. So there's a lot that rides with a trip like this. So please appreciate with your wallet and with your hearts when something like this goes forward. It means a lot to everybody.
Yeah. So if you want more information, just Google Bouvet Island D Expedition, and you'll find the stories on the 3Y0I group, and there's a link in there to the GoFundMe if you want to contribute.
All right. And don't forget to leave your comments down below as well. My thanks to Karen, KD2GUT, and Paul, WD9GCO, for bringing the news. We appreciate you guys. And we'll
You
see
are welcome.
again next week.
See you next week. Take care.
7-3. Friends, if you find value in the show and in the 100 Watts in a Wire community, consider becoming a sustaining member. When you donate $25, you're eligible to receive discounts from participating companies. It's a win-win-win. The show gets your support, you receive discounts, and the companies can earn your business. Become a member now and receive 6 free issues of both CQ Magazine and Nuts and Bolts. Support the content you enjoy and get a deal on the gear you need. Visit 100wattsinawire.com to learn more. Well, how about that? Can you imagine being over 100 years old and still keying up and doing your thing? Don't you want to be that guy? I want to be.
Oh, God, yeah. And I worked a few guys, and one that I remember vividly. He was down in Southern California, and he was in his 90s and got his ticket in the 30s. And until he told me he was 90 something, he was just sharp as a tack and lucid, and just telling me stories about when he got his ticket in the 30s and then the World War II era where he had to stop operating and then coming back. And it's fascinating. It's just to hear the stories of these guys and work these guys. They just love to talk about it. And so we're losing them every day, and just like our World War II vets. And just when you get a chance, work these guys and gals. And you'll be touched, and you'll feel better. I know I did. I was kind of walking on a cloud for a few days after working them. I'd love to work them again.
I want to welcome everybody who is joining us on the stream today. We're streaming over to YouTube now because I noticed that Facebook, the quality of Facebook is suffering a little bit. We talked about it in the pre-show where Facebook is doing enough for streaming just to be in the game. But they're not really developing that platform. So it's a great experience. So I'd prefer that all of you tell your friends to join us here on YouTube. After you subscribe, click the notification bell, poke around, and all this and all that. I get a little seasick just watching the videos of Bouvet Island and that attempt. That team was enduring. I mean, they were staying put a lot of the time because they just couldn't make the break to the island. And I remember seeing the
rough
last
seas.
footage.
Mhm.
Just
And
to
then
where you
they-
could see it. It was right there. I mean, it was right there, and they couldn't. The space
And
between. was
then they ended up having engine trouble. I think they lost one engine. The captain made the choice. It was like, nope, we can't rely on just a single engine. In fact, they made their trip back to South Africa on one engine, and it took them much longer, from what I remember right. And it was a huge disappointment. But you know what? We got the guys got home safely. The engine can be fixed.
Mhm.
And the trip can be rescheduled. The main thing is we still have them, and they made it home safely. Yeah, it was a fair amount of outlay, and probably each one of the members, they put out maybe $30,000 to $50,000 out of their pocket to go there. And then typically on a DXpedition, the team members usually front about 50% of the cost, and then the rest of it they get from donations and things like that. So it's what Paul said. It's spot on. Just help defray the cost. It's because the more we can help defray the cost, we're just spreading it out amongst ourselves, the more they can do it, and the more they can visit it and work these rare places. And it just they're doing it for all of us. And but I'm glad they made it home safely. It just would have been a tragedy if they stuck it out and something else happened and they were stuck there, because we would have lost people.
Yeah, somebody they could have tipped over. Who knows? Anything. Bad things could have happened for sure. And the financial thing of it is just like a head shaker, and you're thinking, wow, I mean, can you imagine the attempt? I mean, they were out there. They were out there for a long time trying. It took, I don't know if it was a couple of years or it was at least more than a year working on logistics. And then it's the money out of pocket. You're working with different governments. You're working with the ship. You got to find a ship that'll do it and take you out there. And to only have it you get to the point where it's like, wow. And some newer hams maybe thinking, what is it that you are really talking about right now? And, there are some, I don't know if you call them destinations or entities or places like North Korea where they rank the highest. Geez, how do you say this? It's the most desirable.
It's the wanted list. So it comes down to what entity. So we have 360 some odd entities that are DX entities, somewhere in that number. Don't quote me on it. I'm not 100% right now. And out of that list, or the number of entities, there's a ranking on who's the most wanted. This is the one and P5 is the most wanted, which is North Korea. And hasn't been an operation there forever. And so that would generate the most want. And then there's a listing that goes down. Bouvet was up there. I think they were like 3 somewhere, if I recall right. They were way up there. So it's one of those that it's wanted. And what ends up happening when a DXpedition happens, then the ranking changes because 50,000 people worked them, and so now they kind of go down low on the list, and then 10 years later it floats back up to the top, and it's just this revolving door. And it takes years and years in some of these places to get permission to go on and to make these, and they have to meet certain they negotiate with the authority that has jurisdiction over that entity, and whether in the case of U.S. Owned jurisdictions like Navasa, they had to also pay for a team of federal employees that went there to do some studies, and the DXpedition pays for that. So, and then they have to go there via helicopter, and so there's all kinds of things that just come down, and that's just one of many. So, and you wonder why these DXpeditions. I think Bouvet was like $750,000. I think it was somewhere around there.
It's crazy.
It was it's crazy. It's absolutely insane, but it's because of just the logistics and the requirements and what has to be done. So it's But yeah, if we can help them, great. And sending $5, $10, $20 along with your QSL card request just helps recoup it. These people are not going out to make money. They're out there.
They're losing money. Actually,
they're losing money.
But you can see how they're spending their money too. At least with Bouvet Island, I remember they had a website set up, and you could go and you could see the actual leisure, if you will. You could see how the money and what the boat was going to cost, and so they did it in a very transparent way. But anyway, we're not here to pitch that. But
there's also let's circle it back around to special event stations, because there are special events that have if you want a certificate or this or that, they request like a $5 donation, and they're like and people complain about it. Well, I don't need $5, this and that, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. Then don't request their certificate or whatever. All they're doing is just trying to recoup their costs. It's, what's $5? It just don't go to Starbucks one day out of the week and there's your $5, and or don't go to McDonald's and get your Big Mac or whatever. And, just help support it, because it's they're not out there to make money, and this is not a money making thing. And if they do bust a profit out of it, guess what? If it's a yearly special event station, it just gets rolled over into next year. So let's help support it.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break. Speaking of special events, I dropped the key under the mat, the back door. It's getting cold in some places, so make sure you shut it. Grab yourself a beverage. Come in. You can come into the backstage area if you like to talk about your favorite special events. We'll get you in, get you out, because people are stopping in to say hello at the moment. We'll come back and talk more special event stuff next. Did you know that Nuts and Volts has the highest readership of magazines specifically written for the electronics community? For over 40 years, Nuts and Volts magazine has been bringing microcontroller and electronics projects to hobbyists, engineers, technicians, and experimenters around the world. Every issue is full of the latest technology, electronics theory, analog circuit design, robotics, home automation, communications, and more. Join the Nuts and Volts community and become a member today. You get 2 years of the printed magazine and the online digital edition for only $49.95. You also receive full access to all web content with downloadable PDF files, plus the e-newsletter filled with popular projects from past issues. Go right now to nutsvolts.com to subscribe. That's 2 years of Nuts and Volts magazine printed on paper and delivered to your door for only $49.95. Go to nutsvolts.com today to subscribe. Nuts and Volts magazine. There's more to build with Nuts and Volts. Indeed, that's a magazine that I have grown to enjoy, but I don't understand a tremendous amount of what's happening in there. But it's, you like the builders, you can kind of glean a little bit, at least a guy like me who spends his time on this side of the mic. Interesting stuff there as well.
Yeah,
We're
it's a cool magazine.
Special event.
The chat room kept me honest. It's 340 is the entity list. So,
okay.
That's great.
Oh, good. Cool. Yeah, it's still, yep, I see y'all in there. It's good to see you. If you're first time here on the channel, please subscribe, click the bell, and get all the notifications and that sort of stuff. We're going to take some of your calls. We're going to the phones. We got some people lined up who may want to stop by and talk about their favorite special event. We'll keep it brief because we're moving along. We still need to get to questions. A little bit of change in the structure. We're doing, 2 shows now. We got one on Saturday morning. We're doing one on Sunday evening. We will hit the air tomorrow at 8 o'clock with John Amadeo. We're talking about Last Man Standing. Speaking of special events, that is shaping up to be one of the largest in the history of special events. And we'll talk about that more with him and his team that's helping him put that together. It's the team that put together the 12 Days of Christmas. So we'll all be on tomorrow. Steve will be running our net. We'll dip in and out with him as well. So we'll get to see Steve working on the HF net. It's fun. But as it relates to this show, we're not going to double dip in this one now since we're doing 2. And we still have to get to Steve's questions and everybody's answers and all those things, or your questions, us answering, however it works. The answer is no. How about that? It's a no Saturday, so no question. Let's go to the phones in memory of Larry King. Georgia, you're on the air.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Morning,
Hey.
Ian.
How
How's
are
it
you?
going? A couple of quick things on the DXpeditions. The most wanted list is on clublog.org, so you can go check it out there. And Bouvet is currently, as of this morning, as of about 3 minutes ago, is number 2,
Woo!
right behind P5, which is, as
Yep.
you mentioned, Steve, is North Korea. That I don't think any of us are going to see in our lifetimes.
I'm working on Dennis
But we can
Rodman to
hope.
get his license. I think Dennis Rodman can get us. You got to have friends, and he's
I don't
got
know
one.
about that.
It's a strange friendship.
I don't know
If
about
anyone
Dennis
can do it,
Rodman.
it'll be Dennis.
Yeah. Oh God, that is something else. Anyway, we are blessed here in Atlanta. There are several prominent DXpeditioners that live here in this area, and I've heard them speak a number of times at clubs that I belong to. The Southeastern DX Club, which is prominent in supporting DXpeditions like that, and of course my local club, the North Fulton Amateur Radio League, and the things these guys do to put on these DXpeditions, the personal expense. Steve, you mentioned it. These guys have to pony up 30 to 50 grand of their own money just to get a ticket on the boat.
Yeah.
And it's support them when you work them. Support them. Send them $5 for and you can do it on most of them anymore. You can do it on Clublog. You can do the online QSL request system on Clublog. You can PayPal the $5. You don't have to pay postage. They don't want your QSL cards because they got nowhere to stash them once they get them. This is what they want. It helps them recoup their costs. It's fast. It's easy. And a lot of them are doing almost real time, depending on the DXpedition, uploads to Clublog, so you can confirm that you got in the log before you send them your $5. So it's really cool. Please support them because they're doing us a huge.
Don't just listen
huge
to
service.
us. I mean, do your homework. You can see what they're doing. Hopefully, they're transparent. And if you're curious and they didn't share enough information, dig in. Send them a note. Let them know. They'll be happy to. And everything counts. Everything counts when it comes to supporting them.
Yeah.
Did you mention your specific special event that you?
I've got a couple of them. I got a couple. Field Day, of course. Spring Field Day in the summertime is a big one. I was the organizer for my club for many, many years. That one holds a special place in my heart. But also 13 colonies.
Yeah.
We've talked about that, and I love it. I work it from both sides. I am typically one of the operators for Georgia, one of the K2G operators. I do a lot of phone, a lot of the sideband, in between work and family. I try to block off a couple hours each night during the event. This year I may try to do some FT8, get that set up. So we got another guy here that's part of the team that's a big FT8 guy, and he runs thousands of contacts on FT8. So I may try and jump into that fray a little bit too, and throw out some contacts that way. And I also like to be on the other side and work the event as a chaser. And the first couple of little pro tip here, the first couple of days, if you're a little pistol, you're always going to be challenged because the big guns are going to be out. Whether it's DXpedition, whether it's 13 colonies, whether it's Route 66. If you've got an event that's going on for a week or 10 days, 13 colonies, some of these DXpeditions, the Route 66 event, I think is a couple, 3 weeks
As a week
long.
long. Yep.
Yeah. Is a week long. Okay. Give it a couple of days. If you're running, I tend to run 500 watts. So I'm kind of a medium range. I'm not a big gun, but I'm not a little pistol either. But if you wait, a day, go a couple of days in, it's easier for the little pistols to make those contacts because all the big guns have worked all the
They
contacts.
got in it.
They
And they're
wanna
out there
work.
bragging along. Just, I worked them on the first day and da-da-da-da-da. It's like, yeah,
That is
go ahead.
That is
Just
absolutely.
go
But
do
those are my two big special events that I get really hardcore into. In fact, Field Day this year, I'm going to brag. People are going to hate me, but this is one of the local. It goes out to to your neighborhood. Gets dropped on your driveway in little cellophane bags. So that is my son and me working Field Day last summer.
Nice.
In one of our, I actually for the first time, I really went the full spirit of Field Day. I had the KX2 out. I was running off of a big car battery, had the laptop up, and it was awesome. And I actually had, we were all distributed last year because of the COVID, and hopefully we can come back together more normal what we're used to this year. But I had a couple of city council members stop by. I had a member of one of our local police departments as one of our serve agencies stop by my house. And so, it was a really good event. I didn't make a lot of contacts, but I had a lot of fun talking to these visitors about what Field Day is about and what promoting amateur radio and what we can do. So blow my own horn for a little bit there.
Excellent.
But Field Day in 13 colonies. And 13 colonies, if you time it right, and you're in the right place geographically. Steve, I think you were the one that mentioned, or Christian, had some issues with the signal and being too close in. You can run 13 colonies in a couple hours and get all 13 of the U.S. colonies. The one station in Great Britain is always a challenge for me here in Georgia, the DV13 COL. That one's always tough.
That was my first one. First time I got it was the last time around, and I got a little addicted to it. I was in the shack here where I can run a little power, and I ended up clipping off the 13 because you become obsessed with it, and it's like, and then I was like, you know what? I had time, and I was set up outside too, so I went out and worked them portable.
Nice.
I got double dipped. Because I was like, it's really, in here when you can run power at it and throw it, like you say, I'm not a big gun by any imagination, but if I can throw a kilowatt, that makes me a bigger gun than a little pistol. I'm like, let's go outside and see what you can do out there from the shed. And I think I got pretty close to it. I couldn't get overseas and it didn't match up, but just making a contact from the heartland, through a pile up or in a pile up to Pennsylvania, that was a big thrill, so I think it's good to challenge yourself too. It's one thing to throw it on the table and be like, I'm going to move over, little guy. But when you're going back and being a little guy, and it teaches you how to operate better too. You pick up the cadence of how they're calling, you pick up the pace and the pattern, and it kind of helps you get better. So I think that's a big thing.
Maybe I'll get Froggy this summer for 13 colonies. And when I'm chasing them, I'll run them from the shack to make sure that I can get them. And then maybe I'll go out into the yard and take the KX2 out in the yard and set it up and see if 10 watts, see how much I can do.
See what you can do. Yeah.
That's a great idea. But anyway, 13 colonies and Field Day. Those are my special events, and I'll let you.
We'll see you tomorrow night for the net.
Yeah, I'll go back in the green room and I'll see everybody on the net tomorrow night at I kick it off at 8 o'clock Eastern. 8 o'clock. Yeah, 8 Eastern, 7 Central.
5 West Coast time.
Yep.
All right, man. 7-3.
Thanks, Ian.
Good deal. Yeah.
13 colonies is the big hit in the chat room too. So it's a very popular event.
When I was on the East Coast, man, that because I was there. I felt like I was in the middle of the 13 colonies. They were below, they were above. Maryland and Delaware, of course, I was so close to them. It was my challenge there, but I didn't care. And I mean, going up to Connecticut or growing up higher north, making those contacts, Massachusetts was like, whew, cool.
Yeah, well, as Ian mentioned, the geographical location, and for me, it's long haul for me, but the propagation is so different from each state to state. And that one year, I think I did 11, and I was missing 2, and I was like, and the one I really needed, I think, was Delaware, and I just could not hear the station. They were being spotted, and the propagation just wasn't working. Just was not working. And so it was like, hey, I tried.
We got a few more minutes before we get into questions. We're still trying to iron out, or I'm still trying to get my head around doing all the shows and all the offerings we're doing. Everything we do right now is basically a show, but Saturday morning, Sunday evening, a proper 100 watts in a wire show. Join us tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Central Time for John Amadeo. Last Man Standing special event is going to be off the chain, as the kids. I think that's actually old now. I mean, that's like they don't say that anymore. I'm so far behind. But we'll take some questions.
Off the hook or something. Who knows?
So it's on the hook again. You're off the hook. It's a fish thing. I don't know. It's a fishing.
I don't know.
Anybody down that's in the green room want to come up, mention a quick special event that they like or dig? Give me hands up. All right, good deal. Let's go to our friend out here, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Doing great.
Tell us about the special event.
So 13 colonies, love doing the sweep. I am in the very exclusive club of people who have never worked GB13 COL. I say that tongue in cheek because no one seems to be able to get them.
I mean, I'm with you, buddy.
Yeah, I've clean sweeped it a bunch of times. Sometimes, like Christian was saying, you'll work it through. You're like, all right, let me try it this way now. And I've cranked the power all the way down to 5 watts and said, all right, I'm going to do it again, but I want to work from QRP this time. But after everybody's gotten it, because I don't want to be that guy that, hogs it up for everybody else that hasn't worked them. And then sometimes I'll just say, okay, this year I'm just going to do it just CW. I'm only going to work them on CW and work my way through that way. Having one of the cool opportunities that I've had, I got to be W1AW Portable 7 for the 100th anniversary.
Oh,
and
nice.
Got to do that. And that was a lot of fun. They give you, I'll show you this real quick. They give you this when you've operated. The league sends it to you to let you know that your station has done it. And I
nice.
did RIDI and PSK 31 for that event, and that was a lot of fun. And then the other event that I've gotten to operate, which was also cool, is the Central Arizona DX Association that I'm a part of. Our club call is K7UGA. Anybody know whose call that is?
Barry Goldwaters.
Yeah, there you go. And I've gotten to operate his call from my shack as well when we activate that call. So that's a lot of fun. That in my QRZ picture of my shack, you can see I have a bumper sticker from his presidential run up on the wall. It's K7UGA and 64. So it's pretty cool. And those are two things I've gotten to operate. But I'd say the 13 colonies are definitely my favorite. I look forward to them every year. And I usually, same thing like Christian says, you just get addicted. You're like, I got to get through this. And you're bouncing all over the bands and watching the spots and trying to get them all. And it's a good time. It's a really good time.
And Route 66 the same way. There's just people are addicted to it and they just want to work every station along the route.
Well, thanks, Brian, man. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you're in
welcome.
warm weather. Rub it in.
Yeah, see, he's in a t-shirt and he's probably wearing flip-flops and shorts.
Hey guys,
Hey guys.
no sleeves. Look. Anybody else want to come up and mention a special event that may be backstage? We can bring you up now if you want to come up. All right, a new friend here. Good day, sir. It's Paul, KD2HJW. How are you, sir? Oh, I think we got you muted.
Hold on.
That's all right. We'll wait for you. No problem. A little tricky sometimes finding that.
He's still muted. It looks like it's muted on his end.
I can't get him on. I can't do it.
There,
Paul, can you hear me? I can't unmute you because you're choosing to mute yourself, Paul. No problem. We'll wait for you. Give me a thumbs up when you come back. We'll come back up to you. We're going to be taking some questions here in just a few minutes. We're still feeling our way through this. I think it doesn't matter as much. I think people are, if they're interested in hanging out, I like to structure it a certain way. But since we're doing a second show, I figured instead of doing 2 in 1 day or 3 in 2 days, we'll do 1 today and do 1 tomorrow. But I hope you guys enjoyed the special event. There's a comment from KB5ORT. Says, I'm not a huge contester. I love to work our New Mexico QSO party in April. Him and his buddy work expedition style, throw a solar panel up, batteries out the back door, fire up the smoker for later, and then tally the score. So QSO parties. There's several QSO parties going on this weekend, actually starting today. We consider those a special event, right, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, because they're limited. I mean, there are people going out for making it a contest for what it is. And then others are just, hey, let's go out, fire up our rare grid and see how many contacts or rare county if it's a QSO party, and see how many people we can work. And, oh, by the way, let's throw up, get the barbecue going, have some, adult beverages of your choice, and then just have a good time, just hanging out and making it a weekend event. And so, yeah, I've always liked a few QSO parties. For a number of years, I would work the California QSO party, which is like in October. And it was and every year it was like, I didn't compete. I didn't submit a score or anything. I just went for the county count and how many counties I could work. And so haven't done the Washington one. I should do that.
Yeah, maybe
the salmon run. And
I've
The,
heard the salmon run. I think I've workstations.
mhm.
Paul, how
And
you
we-
feeling about it? You think you got it ready? Should we check it? Okay, he's ready. Let's check it out. Paul, let's see. You with us now? Oh no.
Oh no,
Still no. That's
we're
okay.
not hearing you, Paul. We see you. You're looking good.
Hey, looking good. Strong hair follicles.
Nice beard,
Out of
yeah.
Paul. Jocelyn says he's a KD8VRX, the Voice of America special event station. Always a blast
Oh,
to work. The VOA anniversary in September. Big pileups. Looking forward.
Yep,
to
WC8VOA. Yep, and our friend Jocelyn and the kids that's a great station there. If you ever go to Dayton, when we get Dayton back,
I know,
go
we gotta get
down to
Dayton
the
back. We
Bethany
gotta get
Relay
Dayton back.
Station
We're going to take
and
some
go-
questions here in a second.
and go visit them. That is a great tour. It's you get to go through the VOA station, and they have a great museum on broadcasters in the Cincinnati market, and it's just fantastic.
My
Great
favorite
people
being
there.
Johnny Fever. Johnny Fever and Venus Flytrap. Some of the best from WKRP in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati.
K1JDP says, I have an old spool of RG6U. Okay, this is a question.
Okay.
I guess we'll just go ahead. We'll take his question first because he didn't get to ask one in the pre-show. He likes to come in the pre-show and hang out with us. He says, I have an old spool of RG6U. Could I use it to make an antenna? And
Yes.
if so, what kind of antenna would you make with it?
I've made double bazookas out of them.
Oh,
And because it doesn't matter. The coax, it doesn't matter which coax it is, 50 ohms. It doesn't have to be 50 ohm coax. I've made them out of RG6. The problem that I ran into is RG6, at least the cable that I got, uses steel stranded wire. And then they have the foil on there, kind of like, LMR style buildup. But instead of having a copper or tin wire or tin coated copper, they use steel. And so instead of having a solder connection, I had to make a mechanical connection. So I had to basically crimp a splice onto it to go from there. But yeah, that's the only thing that I found. I went down to Home Depot and bought a box of 500 feet of RG6, and I was like, well, let me try making a double bazooka out of that. And I ran into the incompatibility. The center conductor's copper, so that was not a problem, but it was the shield. So you have to do a mechanical connection on that. So on the end, it was it was challenging. And then in the center, I used a J box to, and then had to crimp it. So no different than, crimping a pigtail on from when you're dealing with aluminum wiring in your house. If you have a house that has aluminum wiring, to go onto a pigtail it to a copper pigtail, you got to do a mechanical crimp.
all right. We got a question that it's a remix. We're bringing this question back because you wanted to do some research about it. So let's see if you're ready here, Steve. We may have to bring it back a third time. I don't know. We'll see what we remember here. Chris asked, and it's a two-parter, getting into HF, I have a Zygu G90, and I just got the PAX 100 watt amp. I have a radio station tower about a mile down the road from me, AM and FM. This tower overloads my HF rig here, making them unusable at times. That's a hard word for me to say, unusable even. What can I do to fix this for under several $100? Steve, you went to do some research. This is our second
I found a PDF file, basically a white paper on it, and I was thinking you've got to need a brick filter or something. Basically, you're making a high pass filter so that that your signal will go through but blocks the low pass. So or a low pass filter to block it. And so I found a technical paper on it, said, yeah, do this, and I was like, okay, that's great. I can do it. I can build it. I understand it. But what happens to the person that doesn't understand all this? Where can they get one? Well, so happens that DX Engineering sells a filter that you put in between. and the place you're going to put it is you're going to put it between your radio and amplifier, because you don't want to put it in front of the amplifier, because that short piece of coax will act like an antenna, and that AM station will still come in. You want to get it as close to the receiver as possible. So you just right on the between the amplifier and the receiver on the radio side is a filter, and it's about $197. That's the only thing that's but it's a brick filter designed to knock down by 40 dB, and so 40 dB is going to be 4 zeros, so it's going to 10,000 times it's going to knock that signal down, and so it that's the one solution. But like I said, it's a little on the pricey side, but look into a brick filter, a brick wall filter, I think they refer to it. So, but DX Engineering sells it.
And it's cheaper than moving.
Yeah.
And you're going to get on the air.
You'll get on the air. So that's what I came up real quick. It was right after Saturday mornings, and I just, this one was bugging me. I had to figure it out. So thanks for the question. I like that.
Thank you. Thank you all for sending them in. We enjoy this part of the show. We have a question from Marty, and this is relevant now because ICOM doing these SDR radios, software-defined radios. Marty asked, do you really need to do the updates on your radios? And we're talking about software-defined radios, basically a computer, and every now and again, they change it, they improve it, they make it better is the thinking. So, Steve, what do you think about this?
I would look at the release notes to see what the updates are doing. If it's something that is, say, like, oh, we're going to update the pan adapter, it's going to give you 3D pan adapter or something. Do you really need it? Do you want it? Or are you going to, is it worth it? So, but if it's something to do with maybe help on selectivity or something in the RF section, then it might be worth it. But review every time they have a software upgrade, review the release notes and then see what happens. See if it's something that you want, and if you do want it, I kind of hold back. I don't go for the very first one. It's and just kind of wait and see what happens, and let the community go out there and figure it out and see if the update goes well. Some updates they run into an issue, and it's like, it caused a problem with the radio, or I had this issue, and then they'll have a subsequent release of the update that solves the install issue or something else. So, but read the release notes. They provide that, or they should provide it, and it'll tell you what's being changed. And if you're happy with the way the radio is operating, don't screw with success.
And I think you can actually skip increments, So in other words, if you choose not to update on a particular one, like Steve said, check the notes, and you go, I don't know if that really matters that much to me. I'll wait for the next one. I don't think you need to go back and add that one just to add the most frequent. Do you?
It depends on the manufacturer and the way the updates. You might have to, if you skipped the first update and you like what the second update is doing, you might have to still install the first update so that you can do the second update, because the second update might be based off of what was done in the first update and be dependent on it. So it will all depend. They'll tell you that. I mean, they should. It should be in the release notes.
And if not, ask.
Hit up the manufacturer and go from there.
Here's one from our favorite pastor. We have an official pastor for 100 Watts in a Wire. His name is Pastor Joe. Unfortunately, Pastor Joe lives, not unfortunately, he lives in New Jersey. Unfortunately,
New Jersey, we can't hurt, fault him for that.
Great. New Jersey's a great state. I love New Jersey. It's the fact that his sports choices go to
questionable
Boston, and it's a hard thing. And if you've been following the show at all, Pastor Joe has been around for a long time. He comes in, he prays for me, and hopefully he'll take me to the next level with his prayers, light the candle.
And his Boston teammates.
Yeah, it's hard. We're struggling, and we'll have to go through counseling. He asked, all my ham friends are shunning me because I'm a Red Sox fan. What should I do?
Drop the Red Sox.
Stop doing that. Stop doing that, Pastor Joe. You're supposed to teach us. You know the answers to that. Stop doing that.
You're taunting us.
Bless his heart. I mean,
We love you, Joe.
and he throws it up. He looks at this logo. We love you, Pastor Joe. All right, we got another question here. What are the best locations to get antenna building supplies and kits, toroids, wires, etc.? It seems like he's looking for a company he can trust and in buying his supplies. And boy, there was a time when a company called, can you see that? Radio Shack. Radio Shack. Can't really see it. There you go. Anyway,
Wow.
I saw this and I have memories of my dad taking me to Radio Shack when he would, do that. And they've kind of gone bankrupt. They're open up a little bit. Companies where you can get antenna supplies for building. This is an interesting question because there are so many different options, and I think places that you can trust.
Yeah, there's specialty stores, like Palomar Engineering is really good with toroids and they have antennas and stuff. But for building supplies, I mean, probably the biggest one, they don't sponsor us or anything, is DX Engineering. I mean, they have a pretty good selection of materials and items that you can get from them. And but if you want one-stop shopping, there's other places. You have to research it and kind of figure out. Support your local ham stores. Gigaparts probably has it. HRO will probably have some stuff. Universal it's one stop. DX Engineering.
Yeah, it's not bad. They're kind of like, dare I say, a Walmart, of where you can go and just about get anything you need, and they get it to you fast. That's the one thing I really enjoy about them. HRO, of course, is another big one, and they do really well. And I think because of DX Engineering, HRO competition, they're both getting you what you need quickly, and there's probably good competitive pricing. Gigaparts, I think you mentioned as well, and there's probably some locals. There was a local
R&L.
here.
That's another one.
R&L is another one. So I like to support the ham radio companies as much as you can. But I mean, if you're going to buy wire, you can buy wire at your big box store. I've bought it at Granger before. Just what's the deal? What's the best deal getting a spool of wire?
Oh, then there's our friends down in Texas.
Main Trading Company. That's
Main
right.
Trading Company. Yep.
Very good, Steve. That reminds me, I've got to give away an antenna. We got to do that. Don't let me forget it.
Yeah, so it's
Texas.
They're just go out and support, spread it out. That's what I like to do. I like to spread it out. I mean, I like to get stuff from DX Engineering. I get stuff from HRO. I like to spread it out. I've bought stuff from R&L, and I haven't bought anything yet from Gigaparts, but they're next on the list. And Main Trading Company. Just go out there and just support our retailers, and they'll be here for us.
Yeah. All right. We got another question from Kevin. Kevin asked, are there any tech nets on 10 meters? And this is a little out of my range here. I think the chat room may have to help. Do you know anything on 10 meters, Steve?
I think there's some 10 meter nets, but I haven't been active on 10 meters. I haven't even, tried because we're kind of been in the doldrum, and I apologize for that. I mean, I should be. I need to get a little more active there and start spinning the antenna and punching the radio up onto 28 megs. So, good question.
Yeah, put that in the chat, Kevin, if you're still around, and do that. I want to remind everyone, put your name. This is our, it's going to be a new giveaway. Today is our last antenna giveaway. We've done 12 weeks of it's hard to believe we've done 12 weeks of this.
12 weeks. Holy smokes.
We've given away 12 antennas, a different variety of antennas, off-center feds and dipoles and a loop.
End-feds,
an end fed. We did a vertical for the flagpole. So this week, I think, what did we say we're giving away? I know who the winner is, and I'm spacing on it was either an end fed. I think we were thinking about winter field day and what you could use out in the field type of thing. So I think we went with it.
End fed or off center fed?
Yeah, it's in the works already. It's a done deal, and it's already heading out to the winner. So we should do this. Let's just do
Yes.
this, and then we'll take
Get her
another
done.
question or two before we go. We're doing okay, I think, on time. But what you need to do now is go ahead and put your call sign. You don't even know what you're going to give away. I'm giving away something special. I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. But put your call signs in the chat. Anybody who put their call signs in will be qualified for next
Except me.
prize. Yeah, except for us, of course, which we are eliminated from it. But I'll talk a little bit more about that now. The 12 weeks of antenna giveaways are coming to an end right now as I announce our final winner. The winner is Steve. Kilo
Nice.
Oscar 4, Alpha Foxtrot Lima. Steve will pick up antenna number 12. And I believe
Way
it's
to
an
go.
end fed or an off center fed, because we were talking about portable operations, winter field day, and you want to get as many bands as you can. So I'm going to narrow it down. But we've already sent that off. Thanks to LDG Electronics for sponsoring this 12 weeks. We really appreciate you. Steve, you will get your antenna in the mail directly. So congratulations to Steve. Now, for the rest of our friends, before we go on to another question, because I want to do another question. Steve, you don't even know about this. Steve doesn't want to even talk to me most of the time. It's like, send me a text, idiot. It's kind of that vibe anymore. So he doesn't know. That's what I say. I get these hot text messages. I'm like, oh man, I guess I upset him. Just kidding. But you don't know about this one. This is a little bit of
No,
work.
you're holding out on me.
When you said Maine Trading Company.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you have to go back a week or so. We've been talking about the spirit of ham radio, the spirit of radio, where it comes from and how good it can be. And it all stems from a weird message from the FCC followed up by a message from the league.
From the league, yeah.
Kind of like, huh? And we took to the air to say, let's focus on the things that are good, the positive side of all radio, whether, it's ham, whatever, radio being radio and doing great things. So out of this has now born a new giveaway, and we're going to do it for February. So our first winner will be next weekend. Your call signs in the chat now qualify you for this. You said Maine Trading Company.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, oops, got to give something away. We got to get a new plate of giveaways. We're going to give away a $100 gift certificate to Maine Trading Company.
Nice.
For the next 4 weeks through the month of February.
Wow.
Put your call signs in the chat. How this works is your call sign is matched up with a number. My children, we put all the call signs together. They all get a number into the bowl. My children pick it. That's the winner. Caveat. I get it. These times are really tough. Everybody needs something. We're looking to buy a big amplifier, and maybe that $100 will put you over the top. I ask that if you win this, consider taking that and paying it forward to somebody who needs it. Maybe somebody needs to get an antenna. Maybe they need to get a tuner. Maybe they just need a window pass or something they need to get toward their new rig. Think about those things as we pay it forward to you. $100 can go a long way to somebody who needs it.
Mm-hmm.
Now you win it, you spend it any way you want to, but put it in your pocket that maybe somebody less fortunate right now or somebody who's struggling could use it more, and think about that. If you would, just indulge me in that. But there's no rules or stipulations. You sort of have to be here to win it. Subscribe to the channel, do all the thumbs up things. But each week
Hit the bell.
hit the bell. It'll tell you when we go on, and you can choose to watch or not watch at that point. But $100 from Maine Trading Company.
Wow.
They do great stuff down there. They've got great trades. It can go to put you on the next, it could get you where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And in the spirit of radio, old Uncle Christian and Uncle Steve, I would really love to see if you win it. Use it any way you want to, but think about somebody that may be able to use it. So what you think about that, Steve? 100 ducats. 100 ducats.
Oh,
Give away
that's
100
great. Wow. Thank you, guys. That is awesome.
We're going to take care of that.
Yeah, pay it forward if you can, please.
That's all you can do. Let's go and we'll wrap things up here. But there's a couple of questions. They're coming in and on the form as well, and I really appreciate that. Thank you for indulging me on the spirit of radio. We will pick the winner for the first $100. You go spend it at Main Trading Company. Okay. Mark asked, I use an off-center fed 40 through 10 meters, Yaesu FT450D, great signal reports on 40 and 20. The receive on 40 is fine, but almost deaf on 20. I really have to dig out receive, low noise. What should I be looking for?
Ooh, well, we got to figure out, is it an antenna problem or is it a radio problem? Because you're saying it's deaf on 20. So I'm starting to think either the tuner is not tuning it, because the 450 has a built-in tuner. So have you, made sure that the tuner is engaged on that band, and then also is it tuning? If it is, and you're still having an issue, I would then, if you have a 20 meter dipole that you know that it's cut for the band, are you still having the same problem? It could, my gut feeling is to start looking at the radio. Is it with the tuner? If you have a manual tuner, you can figure that out too by using bypassing the internal tuner, using the manual tuner, and then just tune it for the most background noise. Basically, you're just going to where it's the loudest, and you get pretty close to being resonant. But that's I'm wondering if there could be an issue with the radio. Not saying 100%. This is where you have to kind of divide and conquer. So you kind of split the system in half. So you're dealing with the radio system, dealing with the antenna system. So let's eliminate. So I'm kind of betting that the antenna is fine. It could still be an issue. If you had a dipole or another resonant antenna on 20, then that would work. Or take it to a buddy's house that has either an antenna, a tri-band antenna, or a dipole, and see if that you're having the same conditions there, and then try to narrow it down. So divide and conquer, and make sure it's not an antenna system, or it could be a radio problem. So hate to tell you that, but it's it could be a radio issue.
That's a tough one. I want to thank somebody in the chat real quick here, Jay. One of the things that we hit a certain plateau, we have a certain amount of viewing hours, we have a certain amount of subscribers, and Jay has done what they call a super chat, Steve. He's giving $5 to the show.
Thank you, Jay.
And thank you so much. We appreciate that. I didn't really know how that worked, but you can give to the show, and that's a nice side effect of actually growing the channel and all that sort of business. You want to do one more, Steve? Because
yeah, let's do it.
Okie dokie. Let's do that. And thank you guys for putting your names in the chat for the $100 giveaway. I'm excited about that and see what people do.
That is so cool.
Here's David. Everyone always asks what the first thing to do after you get your license. I have collected a long list of first things. My question is, after that, what is the second, third, and fourth? And this is just going to take me back to the time where I first got my license. And the focus was on, a proper radio that could let me listen on HF, so it was establishing a budget for me. I got the HT, I got my first tech thing, I got my HT at the D-Star. I still have it. It's still my favorite, HT. And it is an ICOM. I'm sponsored by ICOM, but I pay for everything. So, but the HT I have, it did D-Star, and I was thinking I can go further than the 5 mile rubber duck on top. And I put a little money on getting a little longer whip, trying to get D-Star sorted out. And I figured maybe I'll tie it into my computer. I can hear people from across the country. That was my first steps. But probably number 3 in front of mine, though, was HF. I mean, I've been in love with HF since I knew what HF could do. And then it was establish a budget. and that first radio cost me $600. I paid to get it here, and it's the Drake TR7. I mean, and I will take it to the grave, Steve. I mean, I'll probably give it away then at some point, but I can't see myself selling that one just because it took me a long time to save up for it. It gave me experiences that I'll never forget. New Zealand, 5:30 in the morning, 100 watts or a compromised antenna. So my answer to this, and then I'll pass it to Steve, is it's whatever your goals are. What are you thinking of doing? What's cool to you? Mine was get the license, get an HT that could get me a little further than the neighborhood. I was looking for clubs, and then HF, establish that HF budget and find somebody I could trust to sell me a radio that was worth that $600. And that's been some years, but that's on me. What was your first thing, Steve? You got to rattle your brains for 40 plus years now, but take us back to those early days.
Oh, I wanted to do everything. I was this kid that got into the hobby, and it was like, wow, look at all that. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to get an HSA. I want to do this. And it was just like, oh, geez, I don't have the funds. I'm just this teenager still in high school, and was just trying to, figure my way through the hobby. And, but, you got a list, David, you have a list. So just go down the list and prioritize that list and go from there. And since then, since 40 years ago, plus we got so many different modes now, and just find what trips your trigger, as they say, and go for it and have fun with it. But I was all over the place. I was just a scatterbrained, and I just wanted to do everything. I was living, breathing ham radio at that time. It was all consuming to the point where it was like, it's kind of interfering with schoolwork. But good on you for having the list. You're ahead of you're much farther ahead than a lot of people. But just go down your list. You have it. Do it.
Well, we're going to probably leave it there. I want to show you, though, a couple of things. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Central Time on the YouTube channel, John Amadeo, AA6JA, joins us with his team, the team that created the 12 Days of Christmas. They're helping put together a Last Man Standing special event. So that's going to be crazy. Steve and I will be participating, as will many other ham radio media and people that you've known or seen throughout. And names in the chat. We're going to give away that Feel Good piece to Main Trading Company, $100 shopping spree there. We'll pick that next week. Can I show you a guy who just got an antenna in the mail who's pretty happy, won a prize? You ready? Look at this. Look at this guy.
Hey, Jeff.
Why you look so happy, Jeff? Look at this.
Look at that.
He got an antenna.
Literally I just got it from the UPS guy.
Good for you.
The box is right here.
I know it's freezing where you are, but Jeff won an antenna a few weeks back, and it arrived today. And he's going to get out there in his mittens, his big puffy coat.
Yeah.
Get that line up there.
My snowblower wouldn't even start this morning. It was so cold out.
Oh, this is perfect. This is the perfect day. This is a sign
that antenna is good. The old adage, once you put an antenna up in the wintertime, it works the best. It's the best operating antenna.
Well, congratulations,
awesome.
Jeff. I'm glad it came. I got a note that said it was coming, so good for you. I hope you can get it up there soon, if not this weekend. All right, we'll wrap it up there. We'll thank you all for coming. If you were new, check out the channel. If you like it, subscribe, click the bell. That lets you know every time we're doing it. We've got Nets live on the air. I'm doing play-by-play for those events. We're doing a show tomorrow night as well, Saturday morning.
Having John.
Lots of great stuff. And yeah, it'll just it'd be interesting to, those things kind of come and go, and those shows, and it's been sustainable. It's been true to the hobby, but it wasn't the focus of the show at all. But it was a real look whenever they did look into amateur radio. It was a true look. It was an operating station. It'll be fun. So tomorrow night, put us on your calendar. And how this will roll out is 7 o'clock is our net. And I'll be streaming probably during that hour. Hopefully Steve will be there to join in. We'll poke fun at Ian, who's in Georgia. He operates from his submarine station there. And then as we get closer to the top of the hour, we'll dip out. Steve takes over the net. I'll interview John. After that, we'll bring in whatever else happens, and we'll see how it goes. It's a new thing for us, the 100 Watts in a Wire Sunday edition with a big guest tomorrow night. We're excited to have John and his friends are helping put that event together. What did we miss, Steve? We went extra long. I said, we're just going to do 1 hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Is the
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah, sure.
Right. From the truck.
Certainly.
Hearing from the truck. You're running long, Kudnick, again.
Again, you guys are out of
snow in the
control.
truck. They're keeping us on the air. Thanks, everybody. I look forward to
Thanks.
reading all your comments and all that sort of stuff. And
Thanks, everyone, for stopping by and joining us. We really appreciate it.
we'll see you tomorrow night. We'll see you
Catch you
tomorrow.
on the air tomorrow.
Have a good one. 7-3, guys.
7-3, y'all.
To join the 100 Watts in a Wire community, visit 100wattsintawire.com.